Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rogue Eye Media. My name is Schlerf, and today we are going to be ranking all 14 of the Post Endgame MCU movies. The shows are not included in this, and this is including Thunderbolts. Obviously, I did my review last week. Go check it out. Movie's amazing. I'll talk about it a little bit more on this list, but yeah, there's been 14 movies since Endgame came out. Not all of them are technically like in Phase 4 or 5. I think Far From Home, which is going to be on this list, is like technically phase. I don't know. The phases are all messed up, but 14 movies post Endgame again. I'm not including the shows in this because it would be a longer video, first off, and second off, it's kind of hard for me to quantify like a show versus a movie. Like I don't know how to do that ranking. I've never really included those rankings together, but I will promise that once Ironheart comes out, I think late June, I think it's like June 24th, which I'm really excited for. Once that comes out, I'll do a ranking of all the MCU shows because it'll be like a relevant topic, as is the same as why I'm doing this right now for Thunderbolts. So yeah, 14 MCU movies since Endgame. I'm just going to go through all of them, talk a little bit about it. And most of these movies are genuinely good. I'm gonna rank some of these lower than others, and I'll talk about each of one of them. But most of these I genuinely enjoy, but there has been some bad ones. So let's just start it, I guess, with number 14. For me is Thor: Love and Thunder. This is my least favorite MCU movie. So it's not only last in this list, it's last on my full MCU ranking. So yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. It's funny because part of it is because me personally, I've never just been the huge Thor fan. Not because I hate the character or anything. I'm just not big into the mythology side of things, and that's one of the reasons that I really liked Ragnarok. Like Ragnarok is top 5 to 10 MCU for me because it kind of strayed away from the more mythology side and kind of upped the humor a little bit, brought in a lot of great supporting characters. The first two Thor movies to me, I also didn't like because they just didn't do anything for me. And Thor: Love and Thunder is basically it did the same as Ragnarok in terms of like turning up the humor a little bit and having the same supporting cast. And obviously Taika Waititi was the director for both, but it just did everything that Thor Ragnarok did good, terrible. Like it just literally turned everything that all the progress that it made for my enjoyment for the character of Thor in Ragnarok, then into Infinity War and Endgame, and just ruined it. The humor is terrible. It turned the character of Thor into a joke, even though all this stuff is happening alongside him that is like devastating. Like gods that he was friends with are dying. Don't even get me started on the scene at the beginning where like Sif, who's like a recurring character in the Thor movies, is dying, and it's like a small thing, and he turns into a joke. Like, just some terrible scenes in here. The Guardians were in it for basically no reason. Like, they were in it for like 5 minutes. I don't know why they set up that tease in Endgame. I guess that's partly to the fault of the Russos, but they set up the tease in Endgame, and like there was literally really no reason for the Guardians to be in it. They were just in the beginning for no reason. They went off and went into their unbelievable third film, which I'm going to talk about today, obviously. So yeah, the film to me is just terrible. There's no redeeming qualities. It sidelined Valkyrie, which sucked to me because Valkyrie was one of my favorite characters from Ragnarok, and I wanted to see her in a more prominent role, which like she was narratively, but she wasn't really. They didn't really do anything with her, at least anything interesting. The whole Lady Thor thing just wasn't really working for me. I like Natalie Portman. She's obviously an amazing actor and obviously an iconic actor, but I just didn't feel the need to bring her back, and there was nothing interesting about that return for me. Like the cancer storyline can be engaging, but it just didn't work for me. Like I didn't find any intrigue in her coming back, and her dialogue when she was Thor was just a bit cheesy and just like felt really forced. And I don't know, the whole ending with the eternity and all that was just like very messy, and the kids scene with the kids powering up, just like all of it was just like I just was sitting there in the theater and I was just like, none of this is working for me. It's one of the few Marvel movies that like I genuinely just despise because I feel like it does a disservice to the characters in the film, and that's just something obviously I don't like. And also they wasted Christian Bale. He was the best part of the movie probably just because he's just an amazing actor and like he's clearly having a lot of fun with the role, but like they just didn't really give him anything to do. And he's supposed to be like this maniacal god butcher, but we literally don't see him like butcher any gods on screen. It's all done off screen and in like a transmission on the Guardian ship, if I remember correctly. I've only seen this movie once. I have no desire to rewatch it since then. I've a lot of these movies I've only seen it once, and I'll mention that when I do. But yeah, I know for sure that my opinion on this would not change the second time. I know a lot of people feel the same way about this film, and yeah, I just it starts with the fact that I just don't find a huge amount of interest in Thor as a character. But even after that, like Ragnarok, I loved. So you can elevate the character of Thor for me, and I love Thor in Infinity War. Is one of my favorite characters. That moment of him arriving in Wakanda is by far one of my favorite scenes in the MCU. But this movie just brought in a lot of stuff that just a lot of wasted character arcs, a lot of weird things going on. The humor, like I really didn't laugh more than like once or twice. Those screaming goats were just like I don't know, it just was too much. Like they just turned up they turned up the dial from Ragnarok too much, and it was too far gone. And I don't know. Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen with Thor after this. I wonder if Thor 5 is going to happen. Obviously they teased the Hercules thing in the post credit scene with Brett Goldstein, which I think would be awesome to see him and Thor duke it out. But I don't know if that's still going to happen. The movie is very poorly critically received. Chris Hemsworth himself, but that's how you know. Like Chris Hemsworth himself spoke out about this movie and said it didn't work. So that's kind of how you know. Um, a lot of bad CGI moments too. So yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but. It's at 14. It's easily my least favorite. It's really not even close to the one that's above it. I gave it a half star out of five. Like literally, I think this movie is terrible. Like in the next movie, I'm gonna say is like a two and a half out of five. So that's the gap between 14 and 13. Like this is, I told you, it's my least favorite MCU movie. This one's way below. And yeah, I mean, I guess I can understand how it worked for some people, but I don't know. I thought it was a disservice to the characters, disservice to Thor as a character. So that's why it's at number 14. So excuse me. Number 13 is Black Widow. That is next on this list. I just rewatched this in ahead of Thunderbolts, obviously, because there's a lot of connections there. I kind of expected to like this more the second time that I watched it, because like I watched it like I think it was 2021, late 2020, early 2021, and it was a weird COVID atmosphere, and I don't know, I just had a weird feeling going into the movie, and like I just didn't really enjoy it in the movie theater, but I thought watching it at home on streaming and being able to appreciate it more, I thought I'd be able to appreciate it more, but I kind of liked it the same. There's a lot of good in here. Like if you start with the good, like obviously Florence Pugh as Yelena is amazing, and she was my favorite part of the movie. There's a lot of good comedy in there with David Harbour, and it is nice to see Scarlett Johansson get her solo movie. But the problem is like she doesn't really have an arc in this movie. Like I watched it and after finishing, I'm like, what is her arc in this movie? Like what really is her arc? And it's hard because they're doing this movie that they filmed and shot and everything. It came out after the ending in Endgame where she dies. Like it's just so hard. And I guess if you watch it within the timeline and the context of like between or I think it's after Civil War. I guess if you watch it in that context, maybe it would make more sense. But I just don't know what her arc in this movie because like it feels like it's trying to give her a completed character arc after, this is going to be her last appearance, obviously, in that movie, besides some like flashbacks or something. But it's just weird because like they meant to end her arc in Endgame. Now they're trying to like dive back into it and then they're trying to complete it again. It's just like everything about it was just kind of strange. It didn't even feel like she was the main character in this movie. Like she didn't really do a lot in this movie. They didn't really feel like there was a single main character, but like she obviously was by default, but I don't know, it just didn't really explore her character arc much. I didn't really get much out of it. Another big concern or complaint that I had about it was that the family plot of Yelena and Natasha and Alexei and Melina, like their dynamic is just really odd. And I know that's the reason, like the reason for it is like they are an odd family. They were Alexei and Melina were assigned to them as kids and they got separated and they haven't seen each other till the events of this movie. And like I understand that. And to a degree, I can understand why that would work for some people. It's like a dysfunctional family. You can relate it to real life. There's a lot of families like that. But like, it's just like I had no reason to get invested in their family dynamic. And that's kind of what the climax of the movie is. Like they hug it out at the end. You're like, oh, this is a wholesome. Natasha and Elena are getting their moment, and Melina and Alexei getting their moment, and they're all getting their moment as a family. Like all of that, like just it wasn't a satisfying conclusion to me because I had no investment in the family because I like hated all of them. Like Yelena was the only, I guess Natasha too. Like the parents, I hated them. They give you no reason to like them. They abandon the kids, and at that dinner table scene, they're saying, "Oh, it was all fake. We only did it for an assignment." I hated it. And then like Alexei tries to backtrack. I just think what they did with Alexei and Yelena's dynamic in Thunderbolts was so much better than they did in this movie. And that's not even like bias showing against this movie and like revisionist history because I had these feelings before I watched Thunderbolts. So like I'm just using that as an example, but I don't know, just that like I had no reason to be invested in the family dynamic between all of them, and it just like I get that part of that was the point, but if that was the point, then it just didn't work for me. Like I couldn't be invested in that climax of the movie. Obviously the Taskmaster thing is prevalent, and that's a lot of people's concerns in this movie. I think Taskmaster was fine. I didn't really have a problem with Taskmaster as a villain. I wish they kind of went full out on her being the villain throughout the movie. I don't mind the heel turn at the end and all that, and like the reveal and all that, but like the Dreykov character, just like I just didn't care about him. Like I just thought it was the most like boring, basic villain ever. I would have much preferred to just see it focus on the Red Room and Taskmaster more than anything else. And it felt like instead we like shoehorned in a 20-minute dialogue with this Russian guy who like we have not met all movie. It just I don't know. I guess we saw him earlier in the movie, but you know what I mean? Like I just didn't care for him as a villain, and I much preferred they explored Taskmaster in depth more. And obviously, we see her appear again in Thunderbolts, and that's just getting into spoilers. So I won't do that. I won't talk about that. But like, I wish they just explored her more in Black Widow and in like what they showed that twist earlier in the movie, or maybe don't even show the twist. Maybe the twist didn't even matter because I didn't need Dreykov in this movie. Like you could have removed him or made his role minimal, and I wouldn't have cared. So that was another thing. I just thought he was like a mediocre villain. So yeah, this movie does have good parts. I especially think like the first hour is actually pretty enjoyable. You know, the spy dynamic, the sisterly bond to Elena and Natasha. The breakout scene of Lexi in prison is pretty fun. And like I said, like Alexi's a fun character, Elena's a fun character, like Scarlett Johansson's obviously always great. So there is good parts to this movie. I just feel like at the end of the day, I watched it and I was like, it just doesn't feel like it fits. Like I just feel like I didn't need this. I didn't need this movie besides from the fact that we got some great characters from it. Like I just Natasha just didn't get the arc that I think her arc was already completed, and I think yeah, just think Natasha as a character was a little bit poorly written, and those complaints are something that I won't address right now. But like coming in Endgame, then Endgame, and all that, like kind of fixed it a little bit. And I again, I think Scarlett Johansson deserved to have a solo movie, and I'm glad that all worked out. But I just nothing it just I didn't see really any arc for this movie. I didn't see any progression. I didn't see anything that I needed to have to like kind of close out her what we're assuming to be her final appearance. So um yeah, I don't know. It just didn't work for me. I know it worked a little bit better for others and all that family dynamic and stuff, but for me, it's just one of the weaker movies. And it's not terrible. It's just one of the weaker movies post Endgame. So yeah, that's number 13. Number 12 is Spider-Man Far From Home. To be honest, like this and Black Widow could be interchangeable, but it's just the fact that like Spider-Man is just a better IP to me. So they're very similar in quality. They both have problems. I- I'm someone, just to be honest, who has had a bit of a problem with Tom Holland's character arc throughout his first trilogy, and I'll talk about No Way Home later in this list, and No Way Home is amazing, but when we're talking about Far From Home and Homecoming specifically, I just can't get over like the over reliance on the Tony Stark thing. And I know this has been a complaint that's been widely pronounced by Spider-Man fans, and I'm not trying to like beat a dead horse and all that and continue to talk about, you know, the Tony Stark dynamic, but to me it was just like I find it an interesting plot point for him to have a mentor and kind of have him grow out of this mentorship and this shadow of Tony Stark throughout his movies. But the problem is, you don't see him grow out of that shadow to like the very end of No Way Home. It needs to be a slow progression throughout the trilogy. And part of my problems with this movie is also part of my problems with Far From Home or with Homecoming. But it's like, we don't see him escape that shadow of Tony Stark because literally throughout the entirety of Far From Home, his entire motivations are to please Mr. Stark and to prove that he's the next Iron Man and to take these gadgets from Mr. Stark. Like it's just I just don't it just has a dynamic like I guess it could have worked a little bit in Endgame and Infinity War and Civil War and kind of been wrapped up in Homecoming a little bit, but like continuing to explore that dynamic through this movie as well. Just I just felt like a drag. That wasn't my only problem. It's kind of the main problem that's looming over this entire trilogy for Tom Holland and this whole movie from Far From Home. But another thing is like I get they're trying something different, but I don't really like seeing Spider-Man outside of New York City if it's in his own movie. Like the whole like global dynamic and stuff, it just I don't really like that setting as a setting for Spider-Man. Um, Mysterio in this movie is like another kind of drawback. Obviously Jake Gyllenhaal's great and like the things he does with this villain are kind of interesting, but I don't really like the whole like pulling the strings from behind the scenes and the fact that he has no power. Like I kind of like a more streamlined Mysterio, one that's actually accurate. You know, I kind of would have preferred that. That's not one of my bigger complaints, but that's still a thing. But yeah, like there's just not a lot of positives I have from this movie, to be honest. Like I just don't I like the dynamic between Zendaya and Tom Holland, like their romance. That's good. That's a good part of it. And the ending is very satisfying in that sense. Um and obviously the ending in general with revealing his identity is really good. Like that's a great ending. All the Spider-Man movies have good endings, all of Tom Holland's movies. But yeah, I just can't get over that over reliance on the Tony Stark dynamic and over reliance on the end game. I know this came out like right after Endgame, so that's part of the reason they explored it so much. But it's just I can't. I mean, I understand it, but that doesn't mean it worked totally for me. So again, this is like a 2.5 as well. It's not terrible. I can see why people like this movie a little bit more, but to me, it's just mediocre. Like there's just not a lot going for it. So Far From Home is a number 12. Number 11 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is one of the bigger disappointments of this saga to me. Again, it's not terrible. This is like a 3 star for me. It's right in the middle. There's a lot of things it has going for it, but there's a lot of things that bring it down as well. I actually rewatched this movie recently. I don't know why I rewatched it recently, but I think randomly a couple months ago I rewatched it because I only seen it once. And yeah, it's just like one of those things where part of it is the fact this movie I feel like could have been so good, and it's frustrating how everything turned out with Jonathan Majors obviously and all that, and the fact that this really didn't build up to anything. But I was a fan of the idea of increasing the scale for the third Ant-Man movie because obviously the first two are very, very grounded. But um if you're going to increase the scale and you're going to increase the stakes, it felt like they couldn't really balance. They were trying to balance the line between like, oh, there's still a grounded Ant-Man story, but there is this huge threat, this huge like multiversal threat that we're going to build towards in Avengers 5. Um, I don't think they balanced that line very well to the point where like when I rewatched this and I talked about it with some other people, I was like, you know what? Maybe I would have rather this just have been another grounded movie. Like maybe I would have just rather they explored the characters from the trilogy. Like you're missing the Luis and his team of like whatever they are, like ex-cons. Like you're missing that team, you're missing that dynamic. You bring in Cassie for this movie. I think Catherine Newton's a great actor. Like I love her and I'm excited to see her more. They didn't give her a lot to work with, a lot of good to work with in this movie. The fatherly dynamic between her and Scott is I don't know. It's similar to the Alexei and Elena thing. Like I'm not really rooting for them like as a pair, and it feels like they're like hating on each other the whole movie, especially from Cassie's side. And that writing just makes her very unlikable and not really anyone again you want to root for by the end of it. And again, I'm very excited to see her return. I don't think this is a Catherine Newton thing. I think this is more of a whoever the writer. I think it was Waldron who wrote this movie. I think it was more of that problem. Um, the positives of this movie are that as much as the real life situation is there, I do think Jonathan Majors does a good job as Kang. And again, I'm not glorifying that at all, so I'm not going to talk much about it. But I do think that villain dynamic is pretty good. His motivations are a bit all over the place at points. Like sometimes he said he wants to save the multiverse, and sometimes he said he wants to annihilate the multiverse and rule it for his own. Like it's kind of all over the place, but I did like the dynamic between his character and Michelle Pfeiffer's character, like that kind of build up. I kind of wish the movie just opened with that instead of like flashing back and forth. But it's kind of weird too that like we spent 3 movies, 3 Ant-Man movies building up to the quantum realm, and part of me thinks it just would have been better to explore that earlier and have this kind of be the second movie, but that's like a story for another day. But I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I was excited to see the quantum realm explore more, and like a lot of the people have the problem with this. A lot of the problem people have with this movie is the CGI and the effects and how it doesn't look realistic and all that. I'm just like, dude, if you're gonna have them in a place that is not real for literally like 95% of the runtime, it's gonna look weird. And I thought it looked fine. I thought they made the quantum realm look as good as it could have been for what it was. There's nothing really interesting about it. Like there's nothing about the scope of it and all that really brings you in, and it's not like amazing CGI or all that. But again, it's like it's not meant to be this crazy like real life situation. It's interesting that it's understandable that it looks weird. So I didn't really have a problem with that. Um, the MODOK thing is another thing people have concerns about with in regards to this movie. And again, that's another thing that like I understand and I feel why people are like, why is this giant face just this make cracking jokes and all that. That's another thing where like, dude, if you look at MODOK in the animated series and in the comics and stuff, like it's hard to make MODOK look anything but ridiculous, and that's like the whole point of his character. I don't really know about the actor that played him. Like, I just thought that callback from the first movie was just kind of weird, and felt like they were just trying to make it feel like, oh, remember, this is in a trilogy. We're bringing back characters. We left some out, but like he's back and he's coming in here. Like, I thought the actor that played him was just like meh. I thought that was kind of the problem with MODOK, and again, the writing is there again, the bad writing, but um, I don't think the look was a problem. Like I just think that is MODOK. Like he just looks like a floating head. There's nothing you can really do about that. It's just gonna look like that regardless. All right, sorry, I had to change my glasses real quick, so apologies for the change. But yeah, I mean the thing about Quantumania is like I'm saying, you can see me kind of going back and forth and saying like this is a positive, this is a negative. Like that's why it's a 3 star because it's right in the middle. Like I'm frustrated because I feel like this movie could have been a lot better. And Kang personally is like one of my favorite villains from the comics. So obviously how that whole thing turned out is incredibly frustrating to me. And um, it's a real life situation, you know. It's nothing that the movie can do about it. Obviously, so you have to judge it on what it is. But yeah, there's just this movie is fine. That's all it is. It's fine. I do think it's the best out of all the Ant-Man movies, which is kind of just like a testament to how I think this trilogy is just whatever. And I know that might be sound contradictory because it's like, didn't you just say that the problem with one of the problems with the movie is that it should have been grounded? I just think the problem is like you can only do so much with an Ant-Man movie. And that's kind of what I felt about Ant-Man and the Wasp is like it's not overly terrible. There's not an insane amount of problems. I just rewatched that movie as well in prep for Thunderbolts, but with Ghost in there. But the problem is like with an Ant-Man movie and with how grounded it is with its characters, there's only so high it can go. And I think that was the point of this third movie is like, all right, we're bringing them in this huge situation and how are they going to respond? And that's why it's a little bit higher, but then there's still problems with that. So I don't know. It's like you have to find the balance between a grounded story and a more multiversal, huge scale story. And I just don't know if they found that. And maybe it was not possible to find that. I don't know. Um, is there anything else? Yeah, I think the ending sucks. I think that the problem is like it makes everything that happens in the end, like the last 20 minutes, makes sense. Like the ants coming in and taking down Kang and Cassie opening a portal for them to come back and Janet or no Hope and Scott like coming back to the portal. But if you want to raise the stakes, you have to actually raise the stakes. You can't have no consequences for the main characters. Like, I guess the consequence was supposed to be the fact that all the variants in the Coliseum in the post-credit scene and He Who Remains with Loki and all that. But you need some consequences for the main characters if you really feel like you're in up the scale. So either kill Scott, kill Hope, like have that serious thing going on, or have them stuck. They should have been stuck in the quantum realm. That I know that's been said a lot, but that's how this movie should have ended, is that they should have been stuck in the quantum realm at the end of the movie, and that was going to be the huge stakes and how this thing ends. That's how I feel. That's not something I'm really docking points for because that's kind of just my personal one. But yeah, it's mediocre. It's at number 11. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So number 10, and this is getting into the range where like these movies are all 3.5 out of 5 and above. Like that's where we're getting here at the top 10 of this, you know, of these 14 movies. So these are ones that I'm going to have minimal issues for, but I generally liked them. And number 10 is starting with Eternals. Eternals is a weird case for me, and this is another example of a movie that I've only seen once. So on a rewatch, usually my rewatches I have the same opinion, but on a rewatch maybe I would like this more or less. But yeah, I remember watching Eternals in the theater, and I really didn't understand the massive hate for the film because to me it's like for this huge collection of characters and this huge scale story and this like group of characters that nobody really knows. I mean, not non Marvel comic book fans will even know, and kind of introducing them into this world and like why have they not appeared until then? Like all of that, all of those dynamics that were at play and how challenging it would have been to make this a good story. With all that said, like I think they did a good job with all those factors coming into it. I like the ensemble cast. There's a couple characters I like more than others. I thought that the speedster Makari was done super well, and I think the actor did a great job. I thought Cersei, Gemma Chan's character was great. Icarus and the kind of heel turn to a villain I thought was pretty good. I liked Gilgamesh, I think was the name of what's his name's character. I thought he was good. There were a couple people that were just didn't do anything for me. Druig, Barry Kagan's character was just fine. I think Sprite was the character, like the younger character. Her dynamic with Icarus was really weird. Like these are random nitpicks, which is why I like this movie. It's 3.5. I think it looks very good. The movie is very visually appealing, and that is something that really worked for me. I think that the villains that are like the deviants. There's like I guess 3 different kind of villains in this movie. There's like the Celestials, there's the deviants, and then there's Icarus. And I think that the Deviants as a villain were kind of just like a plot device. They didn't really, there was no serious work done with them, and they're kind of just there to be in action scenes, and nothing about that really intrigued me. Um, the characterization of Angelina Jolie's character was a bit strange, and her kind of falling for the deviants and all that. Again, this is me recalling off the top of my head because again, I have not seen this movie in a while, but that was like another nitpick for me. Um I don't know why. I really don't know what other concerns people have with this movie. I'd have to see someone who didn't like it talk about it, but again, like it's a bit messy with bringing all the characters in, and there's like literally like 12 members of the cast that you have to all bring together and then separate and bring together. Like there's a little bit there, and kind of showing how they're human and all that. But um, yeah, I mean, I think overall this is a very solid movie that I really don't have a lot to say about because it doesn't raise to the level of like a 4, 4.5. There's just not enough good in there. But for what it is, I think Chloe Zhao, the director, did a great job, and I think the whole cast did a great job. And I would love to see these characters show up again. I have the concern that won't be the case because the movie flopped both critically and commercially. So the chances that these characters show up on a large scale again is very low. I hope they at least like some of them show up. I'm not expecting anything in the near future, but maybe in the far away future, near the long term. But um, yeah, that would be pretty disappointing if they never showed up again because this was an enjoyable movie, and I don't think we need Internals 2 and all that. Like that's just probably isn't going to happen. But I would love to see Chloe Zhao tackle another cosmic project like this, or just a project in general, because she's obviously a very talented director, and I think she does as good a job as you could have done with this story and the villains and the heroes and all that, and their place in the MCU. This was another movie where like it just felt a little out of place with the MCU timeline and where we were at the MCU when this came out. I think in like mid 2020 or 2021. I mean, it just felt kind of out of place, and it was like, all right, where do these guys fit in? Like this feels like more of a standalone story, and that can be both a good and a bad thing. I think in this case, it was more of a challenge for them than a good thing, kind of addressing the whole why didn't you guys show up when Thanos came and all that? And why didn't you fight when aliens attacked and all that? And I think they handled that pretty well, but all of it was just a little weird and felt like it dragged down the actual story. And again, it was kind of trying to balance that line, kind of similar to Quantumania in a different way, trying to balance that not line between like a standalone story and being connected to other MCU events. So I think it struggled in that area a little bit. The last thing I'll say about this is that the ending of this movie that this is why it sucks that this movie isn't getting any follow-up, it seems, because the ending of the movie is great with the Celestial coming in and picking up a couple of the heroes and the amazing score. I don't know who did the score for this movie, but the score is amazing. That especially that last scene with kind of the main Eternals theme too, and then with the ending as well, and kind of zooming in on Kit Harington's character. That's the actor's name, right? That might have been yeah, Kit Harington. I was making sure I was mixing up with Game of Thrones. Kit Harington's character at the end, like zooming in on him and seeing like, then the theme is intensifying. That's how the movie ends. Like, I think that's one of the best MCU endings we've got. I think it was awesome. But again, it's just fine. And excuse me, in terms of the movies I'm about to name next, it's kind of just not as good of an IP as the ones I'm about to name. But yeah, Eternals is good. It's not even fine. I think it's good, but it doesn't quite reach the level of a couple of these movies I'm going to say next. So number 9 is The Marvels, and this is another movie that was subject to a lot of hate. A lot of people didn't like it. It came out during a writer's strike and off the heels of the pandemic. So, or not off the heels of the pandemic, but it came out during the writer's strikes. There wasn't a lot of promo for it, so it ended up again not doing well at the box office and not doing really well critically as well. But this movie's a blast. I've actually seen this movie 3 times. Partly because I'm showing it to other people that I know because I want people to watch it because people have like this predetermined judgment because of what they heard about what they've heard from the internet about this movie. But really, if you sit down and watch it, I promise you'll have a good time with it. Like it's not perfect. The villain in particular is very poor. There's a lot of weird pacing issues, and I feel like it kind of got crushed in the editing room. And the director Nita Costa has even said that the movie that released was not her intended version of the movie. So like, I'm not saying this movie is perfect by any means, but it's a lot of fun. I love the trio of main actors, Aman Vellani, Brie Larson, and Tiana Paris. They're just so good together. The fight scenes are creative with, the switching their powers and stuff. Again, there is a lot of problems with the villain and stuff, but Aman Vellani as Kamala Khan is just like so much fun every time she's on screen. I mean, get her in everything. I'm so excited to see more of her, hopefully in Doomsday and Secret Wars as well. But yeah, this movie just such a fun time. That's why it's right here at the middle, kind of, because, It's not as technically great as the movies that I'm about to name, but it's such a fun time. I had so much fun with it. And yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the fact that the Russos are clearly making this as an important movie for Doomsday with the ending with Monica being in the X-Men timeline. Now we know all these X-Men characters are coming back, especially Kelsey Grammer as Beast. So I kind of think it's funny that they're making this movie very important and people are going to hopefully go back and watch this and love it. And I hope that's what happens. I mean, seriously, if you have not seen this movie because you think it's terrible because of what the internet has said, like at least give it a chance. At least give it a chance. It's not a long movie. You don't need to have seen prior Marvel projects to get into it. Like literally just watch it and you'll have a fun time with it. I think most people agree with me that this is like a three, 3.5. I think the more that I watch this, the more I've actually enjoyed it too. So partly just because I guess my love for the characters that are in it. But yeah, the Marvels is just a fun time, nothing more. Like it's not some extravagant thing. You're not gonna, get some insane storytelling in it. And again, I think I got crushed in the editing room as the director herself has admitted. But I'm excited to see all these characters again. I'm excited to see it tie into kind of the future of the MCU, hopefully. So yeah, that's number nine. Number eight is Captain America: Brave New World. Obviously, one of the most recent MCU releases. So this is something where I'd have to rewatch it a couple times and kind of reflect on it back after a couple of years has passed. But right now, it's kind of right in the middle. I give it a 3.5 as well. Similar to a couple of the other movies in the saga, it doesn't do a lot of bad, but it feels like it's another movie where there were external factors that were affecting it, and you can kind of tell the rewrites when you're watching it. Especially like Giancarlo Esposito's character was added in like in the middle of reshoots, and you can kind of tell by the way like his scenes are chopped together and randomly show up in the middle of this movie. The good news is Anthony Mackie is amazing as Captain America. Like he is by far to me the best part of this movie, and fully earns the Captain America mantle. I think he earned it in Falcon Winter Soldier, but he does it as well in this movie and really proves himself as a leading man. And I'm so excited to see him take on a really prominent role in the next two Avengers movies. But excuse me. So that's a good thing. I think Harrison Ford is obviously great. It's Harrison Ford turning into a Hulk. Like that's fun. And that action sequence at the end is really good. Honestly, all the action sequences in this movie are really good. I liked the first one where Sam kind of drops down and fights the Serpent Society, and kind of the hand-to-hand combat there. I really like the scene where they're at the Celestial Island. Speaking of Eternals, they're at the Celestial Island and they're flying, and Sam's like riding a missile. Like that's just such a fun action scene to me. And then, like I said, the Red Hulk scene at the end is like insane. It feels like they might have saved a lot of the budget for that final scene, obviously. But yeah, I mean that's the good here. The bad is, like I said, you can feel the rewrites in certain portions. I thought that the leader as a villain was, I'm glad they brought him back because I think it's an interesting character, and part of his kind of arc was interesting, but part of it was also like kind of strange in the way he acted throughout the movie. Again, was felt with some of the rewrites and felt with like he was kind of just trying to connect different parts of the story, and part of it was weird. I didn't like the design either, but that's kind of like a small nitpick. But yeah, I think this movie, I don't have an outstanding amount of concerns for it, but it falls into the category of the Marvels where like it doesn't do a lot of stuff to get it to a higher rating than 3.5, which is what it is for me. So the good news out of this movie is like I had a really good time with it, and Anthony Mackie's great as Captain America. Harrison Ford is great as Red Hulk. I hope we get him again. I don't know if we will. But again, like it got crushed in the writers' room. You can just tell with all the reshoots. There were a lot of things that came into play here. Oh, also, Isaiah Bradley, Lumley, I think is the actor's name. His performance as Isaiah Bradley is great. Like he's great in Falcon Winter Soldier, and he's great in this. Like I really liked his character, and like some of the scenes with him, getting arrested and being in jail were like just devastating and kind of serving as an allegory to real life. That part of it is interesting. And with this movie being kind of like a political thriller, and you got a president involved, you got a war between countries getting involved, like you kind of have to commit to how much of a political story this is. And in certain parts, they didn't go fully into that and they're kind of shying away from it cruelly. So that's another concern. And that's not something I fully blame them for. Like with the current state of politics, obviously, they don't want to fully delve into that story and kind of pick a side. But yeah, I mean, I still think that was part of the problem is that this is one of those things where like this movie felt like it was very like cool. Like what happened? Like cool. Like Captain America shows up. There's a bit of a government conspiracy. He fights Red Hulk. He gets neutralized. Move on. Like it just didn't feel like it was required reading for the MCU. It was kind of just like an episode of the MCU. Like oh, you can watch this. It's a cool has cool action scenes and excuse me, it has cool action scenes, and Anthony Mackie's great, and the new Falcon's good too. I didn't mention that. And you got Harrison Ford as Red Hulk, but it's not like something where it's this groundbreaking storytelling in any aspect of it, to be honest. And it feels like just another season of Falcon Winter Soldier. Honestly, that's how it felt to me. So yeah, Captain America: Brave New World as a number eight. Number seven for me is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Um, this is a movie that I defend a lot because I know this is on the lower end for a lot of people. I just this movie and certain things about it worked a lot more for me than I think it did for other people. And I get the concerns that people have about it. I do. And the movie is not perfect by any means. Like I'm not saying it is, but I gave it a 4 star. Like I think it is one of the better MCU movies, and I actually it's very close between this movie and Doctor Strange 1. I think I like Doctor Strange 1 more after reflecting on Multiverse Madness a little bit. But when I first left the theater of this movie, I was like, I liked that more than Doctor Strange, the first one. Like I really enjoyed it. And I think that a lot of people like make the concern and make the complaint where it's like, oh, why did Wanda become a villain so quickly after WandaVision, and what was that kind of heel turn and all that? I just really don't get that because it's really just as simple as the fact like Wanda goes through a character arc in WandaVision, but even before the post-credit scene in WandaVision, like this show ends with her feeling the guilt of everybody that she affected in the town of Westview. And then, she puts up the hood and she flies away. Like, it's not like has some huge redemption arc, and by the end of it, she's like, I'm gonna go be a hero and work with the Avengers. Like, no, that's how it ends in the actual show. And in the post-credit scene, it ends with her reading the Darkhold and her kids calling out to her. Like that is a complete connection to where we see her in Multiverse of Madness when we see her living by herself, and then there's the reveal that she's been reading the Darkhold, she's been corrupted, and she wants to explore the multiverse for her kids. Like all of that is a full continuation of what happened in WandaVision. So I really don't get that as a complaint. I get that people love the character of Wanda, and so do I, and I get that everyone wants her to be good, and so do I. Like I understand that, but I loved Elizabeth Olsen's performance as the villain. Like she's such a versatile actor, especially with this character, and like seeing what she's done with it in Age of Ultron, and then in Infinity War and Civil War, and in Endgame, and then WandaVision, and then now in Multiverse of Madness. Like I think she's so versatile with this character, and it was so interesting to see another departure from what we think the character is and kind of see her as a villain and see her try to be redeemed throughout the course of this movie. And I thought the ending with her and that alternate version of her and her kids was really interesting. And obviously, like her future's up in the air with how that ended and stuff, but that really was fine to me. I really didn't have a problem with that. And I get part of the concern is that Strange is kind of sideline his own movie, and like it's more of like a Wanda movie, and it's more of a of America Chavez movie, and like literally the final conflict is Wanda versus America Chavez. Strange is like not involved at all. I mean, and yeah, I understand that, and that's part of my complaint about it too, is that the ending doesn't really involve Strange at all. Like I don't mean the ending of the very ending scene, but like that scene where they're on the Wundagore Mountain, and Wanda and America Chavez are kind of fighting it out. Like literally the climax of this movie is a conclusion to Wanda's character arc and not Strange's. Like I think the arc of Strange this movie was supposed to be like, can he be happy? And there's all these versions across the multiverse of Strange that are evil and have killed a bunch of people. And Reed Richards and John Krasinski's Reed Richards says that the greatest threat to the multiverse is Doctor Strange. And Christine at the beginning of the movie asked Strange if he's happy and if he can be happy. And one of the variants asked him that. Like that to me is what his arc is in this movie. And there wasn't really a satisfying conclusion to that. Like he decides that he's happy, but there's not really a reason for it. Like, and someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but um, I think the moment with him at the end with Christine and saying "I love you" in every universe, like that's a super sweet moment and super satisfying conclusion. But like they don't really address why he's happy now. And obviously the movie ends with him getting the third eye, and then he goes off with Clea, and we'll see whatever's happening with that. But I get that as a complaint for this movie. But again, like I love Sam Raimi's direction of this movie. It looks great. It's so creative with some of the scenes. That's another thing where like I understand why his direction feels a bit goofy to people, and I kind of understand that, but I thought it was super creative to see someone like really put their fingerprints on a Marvel movie. Like this is one of the only examples where like you can really feel the director's impact on this as a story. Like if a different director helmed this project, like maybe Scott Derrickson for the first movie, and listen, he did a great job, I'm not saying it would have been bad, but it would have been a vastly different movie because of the stylistic choices that Sam Raimi makes with this film. And I think that was very interesting. So yeah, I really enjoyed his direction. I like Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez. Obviously Benedict Wong is great as well, as always. And yeah, I mean, I really just don't have a lot of complaints about this. I get the concerns and I get it's not perfect for everybody, but it did work for me and I really liked it. So yeah, that's at number seven. Number six is Shang-Chi in The Legend of Ten Rings. This is by far one of the better movies of this saga, and it's really a testament to Marvel that they were able to introduce a character that is completely separate from the rest of the MCU and is a character that people that haven't read the comics would have never heard of before, and they're able to go on a journey of culture and a really origin story for Shang-Chi as a character and as a hero. And I think Destin Daniel Cretton, who's the director, deserves a lot of credit. I think he directed and wrote the story actually, and obviously he's going to be working on Spider-Man 4, Spider-Man Brand New Day, so that's very exciting. I think he did a great job with this movie. Simu Liu is just so much fun in this role. You can tell his background is kind of I think he has some sort of background in martial arts or just action in general. I know that for a fact. So him and all the hand-to-hand combat scenes, and that was another refreshing thing is like seeing real hand-to-hand combat in the MCU. I mean, obviously, once the rings come in that final battle, it's not totally like that, and the dragon scene and all that. That's kind of the one drawback about this. I think towards the end, it does get a little messy with the fight of the dragons and stuff, and it's like I would have rather there been like an actual hand-to-hand fight or the hand-to-hand fight between Wenwu and Shang-Chi. I would rather that kind of been the conclusion of the story in some way, but it's not like a egregiously bad. But again, it's very satisfying to see a hand-to-hand fight in the MCU. You know, not only the fight on the train in the beginning, and then the cage fight between Shang-Chi and his sister, and seeing Shang-Chi training as well, kind of the flashback scenes, like all that was really really refreshing with all the huge power sets we have with some of the characters I just mentioned, like Doctor Strange or Captain Marvel or something like that. It is satisfying to see a more grounded character as well. And like I said, I really do like Shang-Chi's kind of arc throughout this movie and tackling his past and not avoiding it anymore and not hiding anymore. I thought Wenwu as a villain was really interesting, kind of as the real Mandarin. Um what's his name? Trevor Slattery. What's the actor's name? Um God, whatever. The character's name is Trevor Slattery, the like playwright guy who's the fake Mandarin. He's hilarious, and his little pet is hilarious as well. This is an example of a movie that I've actually rewatched very recently. I'm not even sure why I rewatched it, but I rewatched it like a week or so ago, and it's as good on the second watch as the first watch. Again, I think it sort of falls off toward the final act, besides from the really good fight between Wenwu and Shang-Chi. I think that was great, and I think the way it ended was great as well. But yeah, this is a really enjoyable movie, and it's again a testament to the filmmakers and the cast for diving into the MCU and exploring a core that has not been explored at all and making it a satisfying story. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah, that's number six. Yeah, so next is number five, which for me, again, actually, all these movies, Shang-Chi is a 4 out of 5, but all these movies from five to number one are 4.5 out of 5. So I really will not have like complaints for any of these. I'm just going to be kind of gushing about how much I like them. Number five is Deadpool and Wolverine. The reason it's kind of below the next four movies is that Deadpool and Wolverine isn't doing a lot from a storytelling perspective and like from emotion and themes and all that compared to the movies that I'm going to name next. But this is just like the definition of a fun time in a Marvel movie. Like is so much good going on in this movie. The humor is the best it's been in the trilogy of Deadpool. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is some of the best Wolverining I think he's done. In his whatever 9, 10 appearances or whatever. Obviously, it's going to be hard to beat Logan in terms of like that performance, but I think this movie does a really good job with bringing him back in. It doesn't feel forced. I mean, it is forced in a way, but it doesn't feel forced. This is another movie where I've seen like 3 or 4 times, and the humor never gets old. We know for a fact, obviously, Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. He's just amazing as this character. I actually have the poster right there, I guess. Well, I don't know. There. I don't know why I just did like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I think the first time I watched it, I might have overrated it a little bit because it's one of those things where you watch it and you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. But then you think about it and it's like, it's not perfect. Like there's moments where it's like, what's really going on here, and there's like minimal plot holes here and there. But I really don't have a lot to say about this movie besides it's just such a fun time. The action scenes are great. Not only the fights between Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think my favorite scene in the whole movie is seeing Gambit, Elektra, Blade, and X-23 and Deadpool and Wolverine like all fight in that little convoy scene. Just getting like a little spin around and seeing them all use their powers and kind of their dynamic fighting and stuff is just so interesting, and it's so much fun to see. This is not really like an integral part of the movie, obviously, but it's so fun to see Wesley Snipes, Daphne Keane, Jennifer Garner, and Channing Tatum just like either, obviously Channing Tatum's playing this role for the first time, but just like get into these roles again or for the first time and just have a blast with them and with the action scenes and their dialogue and all that. The dialogue in this movie just so sharp. This movie flows by because it's just so like bop 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 bop, and there's so many good moments and stringing together so many good scenes back to back. And yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to really. It feels weird calling this an MCU movie because it's so kind of disconnected from it. Not in the sense that like Shang-Chi is, but like in the sense that this is taking a character that the previous two movies were from a different studio, and now they're kind of trying to bring into the MCU. And yeah, I don't know what's next for these characters, but overall, Deadpool and Wolverine was just like such a good time. The humor, the action. Again, like there's not a lot of precise storytelling going on. There is some cool moments, but Deadpool's not really getting a huge character arc in this movie. I think Wolverine is actually kind of getting a character arc in this movie, which is interesting. But yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine, great watch, a lot of fun. Next on the list at number four is the most recent MCU movie, Thunderbolts. Again, another 4.5 for me. I'm not really going to go into depth about Thunderbolts because I want you to just go back and watch my review because I talk about that, both spoilers and non-spoilers. But just to recap, Thunderbolts is just an amazing movie. It explores really complex themes in mental health and challenging themes at that, especially with the theme of mental health with the Century and Elena and the Void. It does it in a very creative way. I'm not going to go on a tangent about this, but Jake Schreier's director did a great job, and it was just said yesterday when I'm recording this that he is potentially going to helm the MCU's X-Men movie, which I think is just like I might need to talk about that in a separate episode because like him and what he's done with these misfit characters and the intricate character moments, him exploring the team, a team of X-Men in the MCU, like that is just like the perfect pairing. So I could talk about how much I enjoy that forever, and I might record a video about it early next week. But yeah, again, I'm not going to talk much about Thunderbolts because I literally just did a whole review about it. So go and watch that. I'm gonna push that and go watch that review. But yeah, Thunderbolts isn't at number four, and it's like I said, not only one of the best movies post Endgame, but also just one of the best Marvel movies in general. So that's number four. Number three, these three movies that I'm gonna name are all very close. Like I said, they're all 4.5s. I think I'm set with this ranking because I've seen all these movies multiple times now, and I feel the same way about them. So I don't think these are gonna shift at all. But on any given day, like this one I'm about to name could be number one, and the one that's number one could be number three. Like I adore these three movies. There is a little bit of a gap between like what I'm about to say. I almost just spoiled it. With the movie I'm about to say and Thunderbolts. Not to say that Thunderbolts isn't good, but geez, I hate ranking these. But number three is Wakanda Forever. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. This movie is just like the fact that they were able to make it as good as it is with the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman happening not too far away from when this movie, was starting to be in development. The fact that they were able to bring in Ryan Coogler again, and he was able to craft a story that was worthy for the character of, the legacy of Chadwick Boseman, but also paving a new legacy for Shuri as a character and a lot of the other characters in the story. Like I've said it a lot recently on this podcast with all the Sinners content that I've been doing, but Ryan Coogler is just a storytelling genius, and he proves it so much in this movie, Wakanda Forever. I don't really have any complaints. Like it's such a beautiful and emotional and impactful story. Again, like dealing with the grief of all the characters and it does not shy away from the fact that, the actor died in real life. Like it does not shy away from it. Right off the bat, you have an emotional scene of Shuri trying to save her brother from this illness and Angela Bassett as Queen Ramonda kind of coming in and saying that he's gone. And then like the first 20 minutes is just like a funeral scene. It's like right off the bat, you have an emotional gut punch. And I respect the filmmakers so much for making that choice and not shying away from the fact, not just being like, oh, he died off screen and that's been 5 years ago and now we're moving on. Like, no, his presence, Chadwick Boseman's presence, and like I could get emotional talking about this, like his presence is felt throughout the entirety of this runtime. It's a longer movie and his presence is felt throughout the whole part of it. And not only is it a remembrance of T'Challa as a character and Chadwick Boseman as a human being, but it's also a jump off point for Shuri and her kind of taking this more leadership role and dealing with even more grief with how Queen Ramonda and her mom dies in this movie and like so much death and chaos around her, but at the end of the day she's able to step into her own and become the Black Panther, and not she's not the same as her brother, but she's performing her own path. And this is another character I'm just so excited to see again in Doomsday. I was so happy to see her confirmed with the chair announcement. So yeah, I mean, and one of the other big positives is Namor as a villain. Tenoch Huerta, Tenoch Huerta. He Namor is a character that's like so challenging to adapt because like he is one of Marvel's first characters. He's actually technically Marvel's first character, and he's so challenging to adapt because like the concept of his character is so goofy. It's like an underwater king that has wings on his feet. That's like basically invincible, and he can fly. And that's probably the reason. I mean, part of the reason was the right. Marvel didn't have the rights till recently, but part of the reason we've never got Namor on screen until now is because it's probably to a director a very challenging task to really explore him as a character. But like Ryan Coogler just does such a good job of bringing Namor to the screen, and Namor is like probably a top 10 favorite Marvel character for me. With my love of the Fantastic Four, obviously he's in a lot of the comic runs that I love, and I love when they explore his complex morality, and I think that's something that's really going to come into play in these Avengers movies because we know he's returning, which again, so excited about. And the way Coogler does it in this movie with him protecting his nation and feeling the threat from Wakanda as a nation, and Shuri has kind of a I guess not queen, but kind of a leader of that nation. That's the way he sees it. With him going after her mom. Um, I just think that it's so interesting the way they depicted him and that morality coming into play. And then at the end, them kind of having this alliance, it's like an alliance I'm putting in quotes because like we know that's probably going to break down at some point, but them realizing that it's best for their nations to unite. And I think that's kind of how Namor is going to come into the story in Doomsday, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, the way Cooler depicts him as a villain is just like again as a Namor fan like my entire life I think he was depicted in such a great way just with the look as well, they got the winged feet. We haven't really delved into his past as a mutant and all that. Maybe with the X-Men coming in next saga we'll see that more, maybe even in these Avengers movies. But I mean I guess we don't really know that's his origin in the MCU. I'm kind of just assuming that. But yeah, I mean this movie it's an emotional gut punch because of the real life situation and just because of the way the storytelling goes. And also another big positive is Ludwig Göransson with the score. We saw his score for Sinners and Oppenheimer and all that, like that's what he kind of gets his praise for, but his score for Black Panther Wakanda Forever is just so beautiful. I mean that scene, I don't know if this is technically him as much, but the scene where Namor shows Shuri Talokan for the first time, and they kind of go through there, and there's Colin Labrisa is playing. That is like genuinely one of my favorite MCU scenes. It's so beautiful. I mean, it brings me to tears every time I watch it. Not because it's sad, just because like it's just such a beautiful scene. There's so many things that are so many of the choices made with Talokan and that kingdom are just so beautiful and so devastating in a way. And again, I could talk about this movie forever, so I'll probably stop for a second. But this is to me, I actually enjoy this movie more than the first Black Panther movie. Like I think this movie is just so good. And again speaks to the amazing, Letitia Wright was so good in this movie. I was kind of doubtful if she could really take up a leading role, but now she completely proved it with that, and I hope she continues to play this role for many years to come. We know we'll see her next year in Doomsday and hopefully in Black Panther 3 as well, which I guess is going to come soon as well. But Coogler is going to be a busy man now after what we just saw in Sinners. But yeah, Letitia Wright is great. The whole cat, Angela Bassett puts in, I mean, the fact that she didn't win an Oscar for that, just insane. She puts in an amazing performance as well. And yeah, Coogler's a genius. Enough said. So yeah, that's number three, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Number two is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And yeah, I mean, not much needs to be said about this movie that hasn't been said already, but it's another one of those movies that is very much emotional and is a ceremonial goodbye to a trilogy that nobody expected to love these characters as much as they did. And James Gunn is just sending off these characters. It's kind of a meta thing too because he's obviously going off to DC, and this might be the last time we see a Guardians of the Galaxy team up movie. We might see them again, but the exploration of the story of Rocket and seeing his origin and his connection to the villain played by Chuku what who is playing him again? It's Chukwudi Iwuju as the villain, the High Evolutionary. Sorry, I had to look it up real quick because I was blanking on his name. Um, that's another just huge positive. He's easily one of the best MCU villains, and at least one of the best post Endgame villains, maybe the best. Besides the one I'm about to get to next for number one, but that's a huge positive. the ending, the ending scene of them all dancing and all that. And honestly, from when I think it was who was the first one to say it? I think it was well, when they all gather together and they're all a bunch of them say like Peter and Mantis and Drax are all like, hey, we're gonna leave and off do our own thing. The Guardians are gonna be over, and they kind of anoint Rocket as the leader and all that. From that until the ending, like I was just bawling my eyes out. Like the whole like story was just so emotional and so good. And yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen this movie like two or three, probably three times since it came out, and it gets better every time. It's still really good. And James Gunn is just a magnificent filmmaker, and DC is obviously lucky to have him. I wish he would have stayed at Marvel, to be honest with you. But yeah, not much else to say about Guardians 3 besides the fact it's amazing. It's easily one of the best MCU movies. Like this one and the next one that I'm gonna say, Guardians 3 and the next movie I'm about to say are literally 3 and 4 for me in my overall MCU list. Like this is just and this kind of shows like all these concerns about MCU fell off post Endgame. Like no it didn't. We got so many amazing movies. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, that's Guardians 3 number 2. Beautiful story, all that. Number 1 on my list, so this is obviously my last one. Is Spider-Man No Way Home. And part of the reason this gets kind of like I said, this is very close to 2 and 3, but as I said earlier about Far From Home versus Black Widow, part of the reason this gets a ranking above is because of the IP of Spider-Man and just how much I like Spider-Man as a character. This movie is to me the best live action Spider-Man movie. I don't say the best Spider-Man movie, period, because of Spider-Verse. Obviously, the two Spider-Verse movies I think are better. But yeah, No Way Home, and it's a testament to the fact that I was talking about earlier about how I didn't really enjoy the characterization of Peter in Homecoming and Far From Home. I love Tom Holland as the character. I think I mean, when it's all said and done, could be the best Spider-Man we ever had, and partly because he got more opportunities than the other two. But I think he's great in the role, but I just didn't really enjoy what they did with his character. And finally, in this movie, he gets some consequences for his actions with Aunt May dying, and he really is able to separate himself from everybody else and become his own character. And that is expressed no better than the fact that the ending of the movie shows with him moving into the apartment and just becoming Spider-Man. Peter Parker, I think in the script it literally says Peter Parker is no more, but Spider-Man lives on. And that is just like the epitome of Spider-Man. If you read Spider-Man comics at all in your life, that that is the epitome of Spider-Man. It is like literally one of the best endings in any MCU movie. Far From Home is a great ending too, obviously, but like this is on another level. It's just the characterization. Finally, he has a worthy character arc in a movie to me. And like some people are like, this movie is messy with the multiverse and bringing in old villains and it's relying on nostalgia. Like rewatch this movie, that is not the case. Like I rewatched this movie not too recently, but I think a couple months ago. I rewatched it for the first time since saw it in theaters, and honestly, I liked it even more. I liked it even more than I liked it when I saw it in the theater for the first time. This movie, I guess in a way is nostalgia baiting. I'm putting in quotes, but like it's still just really good. Like it's not. I don't really think there's a lot of plot holes like everyone says in this film. It is about as close to a 5 star as a non-Avengers movie will get for me. I have yet to rate a non-Avengers Marvel or MCU movie a 5 star, and this is about as close as it gets. We'll see in a couple months if N64 if that changes, but cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, this is about as close as it's gonna get for an MCU movie to get to a 5 star. Obviously, Willem Dafoe is just putting out another unbelievable performance as Green Goblin. Like by far, Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin is like probably the greatest Marvel villain of all time, just with the way he's depicted it. Just he is just like you're getting a real incredible talented actor to play a villain like this, and it's just such a treat to see him play this character again and kind of bounce off Peter's grief and arc in this movie. Like I said, Tom Holland's great in this movie. There's a lot of great emotional scenes. I really like how they brought Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back into the story because they're not cameos. It's similar to the Deadpool and Wolverine thing. Like they're not cameos, they're really supporting characters, and that's how Tobey and Andrew are in this movie. And as a big defender and lover of Andrew Garfield's films, uh, some of the stuff they gave in this movie and how they were able to get him some closure for the moment with Gwen, obviously catching Zendaya's character, Zendaya's MJ. Just again, just an emotional gut punch, and I really appreciated that, as someone who loved Andrew Garfield's movies and kind of grew up on them a little bit. But anyway, like I think the way they bring them in the story is very good, and it does serve Peter as a character. And it's not like you're probably like, well, if you didn't like Far From Home because it's being dragged down by Tony Stark, why didn't you like this? Because it's being dragged down by two other Peter Parkers. But I think this flows a lot better and it makes a lot more sense with the scale of this movie and with everything that's going on. And again, like at the end of the day, the best moments of this movie are without Andrew or Toby even being involved. It's him, not holding back his punches against Green Goblin, but then he, decides to do the right thing and cure him. And him dealing with the grief of Aunt May and sacrificing his identity with Doctor Strange to save the world and prevent all these, incursions coming onto the world. And I'm sure we'll see that explored more in Doomsday and the next Spider-Man film, A Brand New Day, which is filming soon. But yeah, and the ending just with him devastatingly, going up to Zendaya's character and just like not being able to say anything to her. Like it's just such a good ending, and I'll give credit where credit's due. Like I've not been a huge fan of John Watts in the MCU and with Homecoming and Far From Home, but he does a great job with this movie. I mean, his like directing is not. I guess I should give more credit to McKenna and Summers, the writers, Eric McKenna and Chris Summers, I believe. I'm gonna mix up the names there, but the two writers, I guess, is the ones I should give credit for because they did such a good job with the script and making it a real Spider-Man story in every sense. And I think in the promo for this movie, Tom Holland was saying that this is like a celebration of the character of Spider-Man, and that could be that's so true. I don't know what I was to say. Couldn't be further than the truth. I mean, that is as close to the truth as possible. Like it is a celebration of Spider-Man, different eras of Spider-Man, and also Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and bringing all these characters from the old trilogies back. Especially Green Goblin, of course, is the main villain basically. And yeah, I mean, this is just such a good movie, and I don't get the concerns about like it's just nostalgia and it's not really that good. Like that's not how I feel about this movie. I feel like this movie is amazing on its own, and not even thinking as a nostalgia thing. Because the best part of this movie is Peter Parker, is Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Like he is the best part of this movie, so you can't say it relies on nostalgia. So yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home is number one. So I'll just go through my list real quick. Number one, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number two, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Number three, Wakanda Forever. Number four, Thunderbolts. Number five, Deadpool and Wolverine. Number six, Shang-Chi. Number seven, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Number eight, Captain America Brave New World. Number nine, The Marvels. Number 10, Eternals. Number 11, Quantumania. Number 12, Far From Home. Number 13, Black Widow. And number 14, Thor Love and Thunder. So yeah, that's my post Endgame MCU ranking. Feel free to debate me in the comments or leave your ranking in the comments. A couple of these could be interchangeable. Not like switching Love and Thunder with Spider-Man No Home, obviously, but like the ones that are close in rating, I can see I could probably be convinced to switch them depending on how I'm feeling on the day. But yeah, I mean, I think just to finish up, like this really does show as evidence to me that like the post Endgame MCU world is really not that different from the pre MCU Endgame world. Like there's a lot of amazing movies and there's a lot of poor movies, and that's how it is. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I think I went a little bit long on this, so I apologize for that, but there will be timestamps, so I guess maybe I'll skip around or anything like that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I don't know when I'll be back on here, what I'll be talking about, but next week, as always, Friday, I'll be posting a video and maybe a review this weekend or next week for a movie that is coming out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Drop your rankings in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you next time.